The crystal chandeliers of the Park Lexington Hotel cast golden light across marble floors so polished they looked like mirrors. At exactly 9:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, chaos erupted in the lobby with the kind of urgency that made wealthy guests look up from their phones. A Russian billionaire had just arrived for the most important business deal the hotel had ever hosted, and nobody could understand a single word he was saying. Alina Brooks moved her cleaning cart quietly past the growing crowd of panicked hotel executives. She was 32 years old, black, and as far as anyone at the Park Lexington knew, completely invisible. For 3 years, she had scrubbed toilets, emptied trash cans, and polished brass fixtures while guests walked past her as if she were part of the furniture. Her gray uniform was faded from too many washes. Her hands were rough from chemicals, and her story was one nobody had ever bothered to ask about. Dmitry Volkov stood in the center of the lobby like a storm cyst made flesh. He was 55, white, silver-haired, and radiated the kind of power that came from controlling energy pipelines across 3 continents. His entourage of 6 security personnel formed a protective circle around him while he spoke rapid Russian into his phone, his voice growing louder and more irritated with each passing second. Hotel manager Patricia Chen was practically vibrating with panic. She had spent 6 months preparing for this moment, 6 months building a relationship that could save the struggling hotel from bankruptcy. The Russian energy magnate represented a $300 million renovation contract and a permanent suite lease that would transform their financial future. Now it was all falling apart because their translator had called in sick 30 minutes before Volkov's arrival. "Please, Mr. Volkov," Patricia said desperately, her voice cracking under the pressure. "Our backup translator will be here in 2 hours. If you could just wait in the presidential suite." Volkov's assistant, a thin man named Sergei, translated the request. The billionaire's response was a single word in Russian, sharp as a blade. Sergei's face went pale. "Mr. Volkov says he does not wait for incompetence," Sergei translated carefully. "He says this demonstrates exactly why Russian businesses should not trust American partners. He is leaving for the Waldorf Astoria immediately." The words hit like a death sentence. Patricia's career, the hotel's future, and the jobs of 200 employees were walking toward the revolving door. Operations Director Marcus Webb stood beside Patricia, his face ashen as he watched years of work evaporate in real time. Alina paused her cleaning near a marble pillar, close enough to hear every word. She understood what was happening because she understood Russian perfectly. She had spent 4 years studying it at Georgetown University before life had taken a sharp and brutal turn. Now she held a bottle of glass cleaner in one hand and the weight of impossible choice in the other. Volkov was speaking to Sergei in rapid Russian, his voice carrying across the marble expanse. "Tell them this is a perfect example of American arrogance," he said in his native tongue. "They promise world-class service but cannot provide basic communication. I will take my business to people who respect international partnership enough to prepare properly." Alina felt her heart hammering against her ribs. She knew she could solve this problem in 30 seconds. She also knew what would happen if she tried. 3 years of experience had taught her that people like black women in gray uniforms with cleaning carts were not supposed to have solutions to problems facing white billionaires and hotel executives. Volkov was 10 feet from the door when Alina made her decision. She set down her glass cleaner, smoothed her faded uniform, and stepped forward into the space where important people conducted important business. Her voice was quiet but clear, cutting through the chaos like light through fog. "Господин Volkov," she said in perfect Russian. "Pожалуйста, подождите moment." The effect was instantaneous and electric. Dmitry Volkov stopped mid-stride and turned slowly, his eyes searching for the source of his native language. When his gaze landed on Alina, his expression shifted from irritation to pure shock. Sergei's mouth fell open. Patricia Chen and Marcus Webb looked at Alina as if she had just appeared out of thin air. "You speak Russian." Volkov asked in his own language, taking 3 steps closer to Alina, his security team instinctively adjusting their positions. "Yes, sir," Alina replied in flawless Russian, her accent carrying just a trace of Moscow influence. "I apologize for the confusion this morning. I understand you're here to finalize the renovation contract and long-term partnership agreement. If you would permit me, I would be honored to assist with translation services." The lobby had gone completely silent. Guests and staff alike were witnessing something that didn't fit any of their assumptions about how the world worked. Patricia Chen looked like she was watching reality itself glitch and reboot. "Who are you?" Volkov asked, still speaking Russian, his eyes studying Alina with new intensity. "My name is Alina Brooks," she replied. "I work here at the hotel. You work here as what?" Alina hesitated for just a heartbeat before answering with quiet dignity. "I'm employed in the housekeeping department." Volkov's expression transformed again, this time into something that looked like anger but was actually moral outrage. He turned to Patricia Chen and spoke in heavily accented but clear English. "You have an employee who speaks perfect Russian, and you put her to clean toilets." Patricia's face went through several shades of red and white as the implications crashed over her like a wave. I didn't know that Alina spoke." "Of course you didn't know," Volkov interrupted coldly. "Because you never asked. You never bothered to discover what talents existed in your own building." Marcus Webb stepped forward, his hotel operations director instinct screaming that this situation was spinning wildly out of control. "Miss Brooks, I don't understand. Your employee file says you only completed high school. How do you speak Russian?" Alina felt 3 years of careful invisibility cracking apart. She had spent 1,000 days avoiding exactly this moment, this exposure, this vulnerability. But there was no going back now. The truth was already spilling out into the light, and all she could do was stand in it. "I graduated from Georgetown University with a degree in international relations," Alina said quietly, her eyes meeting Marcus's without flinching. "I speak 6 languages fluently: Russian, Mandarin, Arabic, French, Spanish, and English. I specialized in Eastern European energy policy and wrote my senior thesis on cross-cultural business negotiation." The words landed like grenades in the marble lobby. Patricia Chen grabbed the edge of the reception desk for support. Marcus Webb's face showed a dozen different emotions cycling through in rapid succession. And Dmitry Volkov smiled for the first time since arriving, a smile that held both vindication and something approaching respect. "Impossible," Patricia whispered, but there was no conviction in her voice. She was already understanding that it wasn't impossible at all. It was just inconvenient for the comfortable assumptions she had made about who deserved attention and opportunity. Volkov turned back to Alina and spoke in Russian. "Tell me, Miss Brooks, why does a Georgetown graduate with expertise in international energy policy work as a maid?" The question was asked gently, but everyone in the lobby could sense its importance. Alina felt her throat tighten with the memory of the phone call that had changed everything, the moment when ambition had collided with love and loyalty. "For years ago, my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer." Alina replied in Russian, her voice steady despite the emotion behind it. "The treatment she needed was experimental and expensive. My insurance from a new graduate job wouldn't have covered it, and she would have died while I waited through interview processes. I took the first job that offered same-day hiring and immediate health benefits. I've been here for 3 years, and my mother is alive." The translation came from Sergei, who delivered Alina's words with surprising emotion. By the time he finished, several people in the lobby were wiping their eyes. Patricia Chen looked like she had been struck by lightning, her professional composure completely shattered by shame. Dmitry Volkov stared at Alina for a long moment, then spoke in English so everyone could understand. "You sacrificed career for family. You worked beneath your abilities for love. You remained invisible to protect someone you could not afford to lose." "Yes, sir," Alina said simply. And today, you risked exposure to save jobs of people who never saw you as anything more than cleaning woman. Alina nodded, not trusting her voice. Volkov turned to Patricia Chen and Marcus Webb, his expression hard as granite. This woman has more integrity in one finger than most executives have in an entire body. She has talents you wasted, intelligence you ignored, and character you never bothered to recognize. Patricia opened her mouth to respond, but Volkov raised his hand. I will conduct my business here, but only on 3 conditions. First, Miss Brooks will serve as my exclusive translator and cultural liaison for all negotiations. Second, she will be compensated at rate of $500 per hour. Third, you will conduct immediate review of every employee in this building to ensure you are not wasting other talents through laziness or prejudice. Marcus Webb stepped forward, trying to salvage some authority. Mr. Volkov, with all due respect, we have protocols for vetting translators for sensitive business. Your protocols are what created this disaster, Volkov snapped. Miss Brooks has already demonstrated more competence in 5 minutes than your entire management team has in 5 months of preparation. He turned back to Alina, switching to Russian. Are you willing to help me, Miss Brooks? I should tell you that this negotiation involves complex energy contracts, regulatory frameworks, and cultural nuances that would challenge most professional translators. Alina met his eyes and spoke in Russian. Mr. Volkov, I wrote a 100-page thesis on exactly those topics. I can help you navigate not just the language, but the deeper business culture barriers that undermine Russian-American energy partnerships. For the second time that morning, Dmitry Volkov smiled. Then, we have much work to do. The next 6 hours passed like a fever dream. Alina found herself sitting in the presidential suite's boardroom, surrounded by executives in $1,000 suits, facilitating negotiations worth more money than she could have earned in 10 lifetimes of cleaning toilets. The Russian delegation was impressed. The American partners from Redstone Energy were stunned. And Alina felt parts of herself that had been dormant for 3 years suddenly roaring back to life. She didn't just translate words, she translated intentions, cultural context, unspoken assumptions, and business philosophies. When Volkov expressed concern about regulatory instability, Alina explained the political dynamics that American executives were missing. When the Redstone team pushed back on environmental provisions, Alina helped Volkov understand the litigation pressures they were facing. By hour 4, both sides were looking at her not as a translator, but as a strategist. By hour 5, they were asking her opinion on contract structure. By hour 6, Dmitry Volkov was offering her a job. Miss Brooks, he said during a break, speaking in English for the benefit of the Redstone executives. My company is expanding American operations. We need someone who understands both Russian and American business culture at sophisticated level. I am offering you position as Director of Cross-Cultural Business Development. Starting salary is $250,000, plus full benefits and equity participation. The number was so absurd compared to her current $28,000 salary that Alina actually laughed. Then she saw Volkov's face and realized he was completely serious. Mr. Volkov, I'm incredibly honored, but Before you answer, interrupted James Morrison, CEO of Redstone Energy. I should mention that we would also like to offer you a consulting contract. Your insights this afternoon have been extraordinary. So we'll match Mr. Volkov's salary offer and add a signing bonus of $50,000. Alina sat in stunned silence as 2 of the most powerful energy executives in the world competed to hire the woman who had been cleaning their toilets that morning. Patricia Chen, who had been observing the negotiations from the corner of the room, looked like she was watching her entire understanding of reality collapse. The black maid she had walked past 1,000 times without seeing had just orchestrated a $300 million deal and received job offers that exceeded Patricia's own salary. Marcus Webb approached Alina during the next break, his face showing a mixture of shame and desperate calculation. Alina, I want to apologize for not recognizing your qualifications earlier. I'd like to discuss a management position here at the hotel. We could, no, Alina said simply. The word was quiet, but absolute. I understand you're upset, but surely we can. Mr. Webb, you had 3 years to see me as a human being with value beyond my ability to scrub floors. Alina interrupted gently. You walked past me thousands of times. You never once asked about my story, my education, or my dreams. I'm not angry, but I'm also not interested in staying somewhere that only recognized my worth after a billionaire forced you to see it. The truth of her words hung in the air like indictment. Marcus had no response because there was no response. She was absolutely right. The negotiations concluded just before 6 p.m., with contracts signed, partnerships formed, and Dmitry Volkov in an unexpectedly good mood. He approached Alina as his team packed up their materials, his expression thoughtful. Miss Brooks, I want to tell you something, he said, in Russian. I have conducted business in 47 countries. I have worked with Harvard graduates, Wharton MBAs, and Oxford scholars. You are as talented as any of them, and more impressive than most, because you've maintained your skills and dignity while the world tried to make you invisible. Alina felt tears threatening the corners of her eyes. Thank you, sir. That means more than you know. I meant my job offer, Volkov continued. But I understand if you need time to decide. Take 1 week. Think about your mother, your future, and what you want your life to look like. Then call me. He handed her a business card with his private number, then did something that shocked everyone in the room. Dmitry Volkov, a man who typically maintained rigid formal boundaries, pulled Alina into a brief hug. You reminded me today why I still believe in human potential, he said quietly. Do not let anyone make you small again. 6 months later, Alina Brooks stood in her corner office on the 38th floor of the Volkov Industries North American headquarters. Her mother sat in the leather chair across from her desk, healthy and cancer-free, visiting her daughter at work for the first time. The view stretched across Manhattan, including a clear sightline to the Park Lexington Hotel far below. Alina had accepted Volkov's offer and negotiated a consulting arrangement with Redstone Energy that allowed her to do both. She was earning more money than she had ever imagined possible, traveling internationally to facilitate business partnerships, and building a reputation as one of the most effective cross-cultural business strategists in the energy sector. But the money wasn't what mattered most. What mattered was the scholarship fund she had established for Georgetown students from disadvantaged backgrounds. What mattered was the consulting work she did pro bono for refugee organizations, helping immigrants navigate American business culture. What mattered was the quiet satisfaction of knowing that she had transformed 3 years of invisibility into a platform for helping others who felt unseen. Patricia Chen had been demoted at the Park Lexington after the hotel ownership learned about the wasted talent on their housekeeping staff. Marcus Webb had implemented mandatory bias training for all management. And the hotel had hired a new human resources director whose first priority was conducting skills assessments for every employee, regardless of their position. Alina's story had spread through business circles like wildfire. She was invited to speak at conferences about recognizing hidden talent. Journalists wanted to interview her about systemic barriers. And most importantly, she received hundreds of emails from people working beneath their qualifications. People who felt invisible, people who had sacrificed their dreams for family and survival. She answered every single email. On quiet evenings, Alina thought about the moment she stepped forward in that marble lobby. She had risked everything: her invisibility, her emotional safety, because staying silent would have meant betraying herself. For 3 years, the world had taught her to disappear. One Russian billionaire had spent 6 hours proving she never had. She had always been brilliant and capable. It's only now were others forced to see it. Her mother gazed at the view and smiled. You did good, baby. You turned pain into something beautiful. I just stopped hiding, Alina said. The talent was always there. Her phone buzzed. Dmitry Volkov, Dubai contract signed. Your insights made the difference. When can you fly out to celebrate? Elena smiled. Then she said the words she repeated whenever doubt returned. They tried to make me invisible, Mama. They failed. 3 years of cleaning toilets taught her one truth. Dignity cannot be taken only, surrendered. She had never surrendered hers. The underestimated are not weak. They are waiting. And when their moment comes, they soar.